I'm going to read from 1 Chronicles chapter 12. The title is Warriors Join David. These were the men who came to David at Ziklag while he was banished from the presence of Saul, son of Kish. They were armed with bows and were able to shoot arrows or to sling stones right-handed or left-handed. They were kinsmen of Saul from the tribe of Benjamin. Ahiezer, their chief, and Joash, the sons of Shema and Jephthite, Jeziel and Pelet, the sons of Asmaveth, Berakah, Jehu, and Anathothite, and Ismaiah the Gibeonite, a mighty man among the 30, who was a leader of the 30. Jeremiah, Jahaziel, Johanan, Jozabad, the Girdathite, Elizai, Jeremoth, Baaliah, Shemariah, and Shephethai, the Haruphite, Elkanah, Ishiah, Azarel, Joeser, Jashobeam, the Korhites, and Jolah, and Zebediah, the sons of Jeram from Gedor. Some Gadites defected to David at his stronghold in the desert. They were brave warriors, ready for battle, and able to handle the shield and spear. Their faces were the faces of lions, and they were as swift as gazelles in the mountains. Ezer was the chief, Obadiah the second in command, Eliab the third, Mishmanah the fourth, Jeremiah the fifth, Attai the sixth, Eliel the seventh, Johanan the eighth, Elizabad the ninth, Jeremiah the 10th, and Macbani the 11th. These Gadites were army commanders. The least was a match for 100, and the greatest for 1,000. It was they who crossed the Jordan in the months when it was flowing all its banks, and they put to flight everyone living in the valleys in the east and to the west. Other Benjamites and some more men from Judah also came to David in his stronghold. David went out to meet them and said to them, "If you have to come to me in peace to help me, I am ready to have you unite with me. But if you have come to betray me to my enemies, when my hands are free from violence, may the God of our fathers see it and judge you." Then the Spirit came upon Amasai, the chief of the 30, and he said, "We are yours, O David. We are yours, O son of Jesse. Success to you, and success to those who help you, for your God will help you." So David received them and made them leaders of raising bands. Some of the men of Manasseh defected to David when he went with the Philistines to fight against Saul. When David went to Ziklag, these were the men of Manasseh who defected to him: Adonai, Jozabad, Jediel, Michael, Jozabad, Elihu, and Zilithai, leaders of units of 1,000 in Manasseh. They helped David against raiding bands, for all of them were warriors, and they were commanders in his army. Day after day men came to help David until he had a great army like the army of God. These are the numbers of the men armed for battle who came to David at Hebron to turn Saul's kingdom over to him, as the Lord had said. Men of Judah, carrying shield and spear, 6,800. Men of Simeon, 7,100. Men of Levi, 4,600. Men of Benjamin, 3,000. Men of Ephraim, 20,800. Men of the half-tribe of Manasseh designated by the name to come and make David king, 18,000. Men of Issachar, who understood the times and knew what Israel should do, 200. Men of Zebulun, experienced soldiers prepared for battle with every type of weapon, helped David with undivided loyalty, 50,000. Men of Naphtali, 1,000 officers together with 37,000 men carrying shields and spears. Men of Dan, ready for battle, 28,600. Men of Asher, experienced soldiers prepared for battle, 40,000. And from the east of Jordan, men of Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, armed with every type of weapon, 120,000. All these were fighting men who volunteered to serve in the ranks. They came to Hebron fully determined to make David king over Israel. All the rest of the Israelites were also one of mind to make David king. The men spent 3 days there with David, eating and drinking, for their families had supplied provisions for them. Also their neighbors from as far away as Issachar, Zebulun, and Naphtali came bringing food on donkeys, camels, mules, and oxen. There were plentiful supplies of flour, fig cakes, raisin cakes, wine, oil, cattle, and sheep, for there was joy in Israel. So, what is this leading to? David getting back the ark. David and Goliath, right? Do I have time to read this? No, I got less than 5 minutes. I could talk about David's Song of Songs. I could talk about the battle with the Philistines. And the ark brought to Jerusalem. Okay. You know what? I think I'm going to skip to 14:8 and talk about David defeating the Philistines and end it there, because this is kind of key to what I'm getting up to later if I have time. So when the Philistines heard that David had been anointed king over all Israel, they went up in full force to search for him. But David heard about it and went out to meet them. Now the Philistines had come and raided the valley of Rephaim. So David inquired of God, "Shall I go and attack the Philistines? Will you hand them over to me?" The Lord answered him, "Go, I'll hand them over to you." So David and his men went up to Baal Perazim, and there he defeated them. He said, "As waters break out, God has spoken out against my enemies by my hand." So that place was called Baal Perazim. The Philistines had abandoned their gods there, and David gave orders to burn them in the fire. Once more the Philistines raided the valley, so David inquired of God again, and God answered, "Do not go straight up, but circle around them and attack them in the front of the balsam trees. As soon as you hear the sound of marching in the top of the balsam trees, move out to battle, because that will mean God has gone out in front of you to strike the Philistine army." So David did as God commanded, and they struck down the Philistine army all the way from Gibeon to Gezer. So David's fame spread throughout every land, and the Lord made all the nations fear him. Alright. So that's, okay, I got about a couple minutes left. This video is prelude to the next. The next one I'm going to explain why I chose these things. It has to do with the society and, psychiatry. Let me see if I can read a little bit more. God's promise to David. And all this is important, don't get it wrong. His victories. No. Okay, Levites will end it there. This is where that's at. I can't decide what to read about you, because I need to connect to one more thing. I could talk about David's plans for the temple. No, we'll end it with a paragraph from Levi. Okay, so 1 Chronicles 21:23, 1 through 6. When David was old and full of years, he made his son Solomon king over Israel. He also gathered together all the leaders of Israel, as well as the priests and Levites. The Levites 30 years old or more were counted, and the total number of men was 38,000. David said, "Of these, 24,000 are to supervise the work of the temple for the Lord, and 6,000 are to be officials and judges. 4,000 are to be gatekeepers, and 4,000 are to praise the Lord with the musical instruments I have provided for that purpose." David divided the Levites into groups corresponding to the sons of Levi: Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. Okay, and they talk about those. Okay, I think I'll scan through Chronicles and see if there's any last things I can give you before, It's a big part of the Bible. So quick. The Chronicle ends with Manasseh, king of Judah, and I'm going to switch to that and end it there. Okay. Well, I mean, it doesn't end with, that's one of the last paragraphs. It ends with the fall of Jerusalem. I'll try to hit them both. Manasseh was 12 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 55 years. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord, following the detestable practices of the nations the Lord had driven out before the Israelites. He built the high places his father Hezekiah had demolished. He also erected altars to the Baals and made Asherah poles. He bowed down to them all those star hosts, and worshipped them. He built altars in the temple of the Lord, in which the Lord had said, "My name will remain in Jerusalem forever." In both courts of the temple of the Lord, he built altars to all the star horse. He sacrificed his sons in the fire in the valley of Ben Hinnom, practiced sorcery, divination, and witchcraft, and consulted mediums and spiritists. He did much evil in the eyes of the Lord, provoking him to anger. He took the carved image which he had made, put into God's temple, which God had said to David and to his son Solomon, in this temple in Jerusalem, which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, I will put my name forever. I will not again make the feet of the Israelites leave the land I assigned to your forefathers, if only they will be careful to do everything I commanded them concerning all the laws, decrees, and ordinances given through Moses. But Manasseh led Judah and the people of Jerusalem astray, so that they did more evil than the nations the Lord had destroyed before the Israelites. The Lord spoke to Manasseh and his people, but they paid no attention. So the Lord brought against them an army commanders of the king of Assyria, who took Manasseh prisoner, put a hook in his nose, bound him with bronze shackles, and took him to Babylon. In his distress he sought the favor of the Lord his God, and humbled himself greatly before the Lord his fathers when he prayed to him. The Lord was moved by his entreaty and listened to his plea, so he brought him back to Jerusalem and to his kingdom. Then Manasseh knew that the Lord is God. Afterwards he built the outer wall of the city of David, west of Gibeon, west of the Gibeon spring in the valley, as far as the entrance of the fish gate, and encircling the king of the hill of Ophel. He also made it much higher. He stationed military commanders in all the fortified cities in Judah. I'm going to have to continue this. I'm going way over. Thank you.